Hello again everybody, and welcome to another in a series of short videos I'm doing promoting a radical but logical alternative hypothesis to the standard model of both quantum physics and cosmology. In this video I would like to draw your attention to what I believe is a serious misconception regarding black holes and the properties that they possess. I'm saying this because if you look at the standard model description of black holes, it's not only counterintuitive, it's illogical, and it goes against the known and proven laws of physics as we know them. And I say this because when you look at what is explained by physicists and cosmologists, they say that a black hole is likely to be formed when a massive star runs out of its fuel and explodes in a supernova. And they say when this happens, it sheds off its outer layers, and what's left collapses down under its own gravity to form an area of immense gravity where anything that gets near to it is drawn in, and to the extent, and nothing can escape, to the extent where even light, the speed of light, the velocity of light is not great enough to overcome the immense gravity that the black hole possesses. Now, if you think about it, this is completely illogical on a number of accounts. First of all, if a star explodes, then the likelihood is that the whole of the star would explode and be ejected out into surrounding space, because a star is obviously extremely hot, so the centre of that star is likely to be at the very least molten, if not plasma. So right, if that happens, the whole of the star will be ejected out into space, and that's what I would propose happens. If only part of the star was ejected out into space, then what would be left would be that much lower in gravity, because we know, and it's been proven, that gravity is a product of mass. So depending on the mass of an object will depend on the force of gravity that it exerts. We know this because the Earth, being a greater volume of mass or amount of mass than the Moon, we know that the gravity of the Earth is much stronger than it is on the Moon. So it's absolutely, known that gravity is proportional to the amount of mass that a body contains. So right, if, say, for argument's sake, like I say, the star only exploded off a proportion of its matter, then what would be left would be matter that contained far less gravity than what it did before. So the notion of it becoming an area of immense gravity is completely flawed. So right, if, say, for argument's sake, the whole of the star explodes, then what will be left in the middle will be an empty void. And because there's no atomic matter in that, then there will be no gravity. So I propose that black holes are areas of nil gravity, zero gravity. And the reason why they say that light can't escape from it is not that it can't escape, it's the fact that there's nothing in there for light to reflect off of. So it's not so much that light can't escape. Any light, if you can imagine a spiral galaxy, for argument's sake, then whatever is on this side, there's going to be the same thing on the other side. So basically, what it is a vortex without the funnel shape going to it, because the only reason we get with vortexes on Earth, where if you take the plug out of the bath, it forms a vortex going down. The only reason you've got a funnel type tube there is because it's being pulled by gravity underneath it. So in space where there's it's in equilibrium, there's no force pulling in any direction, then if a star exploded, all of its material would be ejected out in every direction. Now, if that was a rotating star, then you would end up with what I would term an embryonic rotating galaxy. And I honestly think that this would solve one of the problems that physicists are looking for, or cosmologists are looking for, is how galaxies form. And I believe that they're formed by stars exploding and forming a black hole, and all the matter that was contained in that star would be spread out, but it would be spread out around that area. So if you've got a rotating galaxy, over many years, the matter that was exploded out would start to accrete back together again, but it would be in like a ring around the area where the star was in the first place. So that would match up exactly with what we see with rotating galaxies. If we've got a non-rotating galaxy, then I would propose that what happens is that when that star explodes, all the matter that it contains is ejected out in every direction, and what you end up with is basically a hollow sphere. So you've got an area in the centre that has no gravity. It's just the same as what is in any empty space. And surrounding that, you would have the matter that was contained in that star as like if you can imagine, well, just like a football, the matter would be spread all around the outside of it, and the centre would be empty. And of course, when we look from any direction, we would see that as a non-rotating galaxy. So basically, the whole concept of a way black holes work, I think, has been misconceived over all these years. Because, like I explained, none of what has been said makes sense. It's very difficult for me to get it all over in a short video like this, because I'm doing short videos which are basically taking sections from this little book, which contains the whole of my hypothesis, going right back to the atom. And the cornerstone of this is that I propose that gravity has got nothing whatsoever to do with curvature of space. I believe that it is straightforward, simple. It's just two opposing forces, and they are produced by two incredibly small monopole particles. That's why the hypothesis is called the two monopole particle universe. And in this, I explain right from the atom how everything fits together. So what I propose is that dark matter is actually composed of an incredibly small negatively charged monopole particle that fills every empty space in the universe. And because we know that like charges repel, there is a negative force of repulsion trying to push each of these particles is trying to push against each other, repel each other. So you've got a negative force of repulsion, and this is what I believe is dark energy. And I maintain that this is one of the two forces of gravity, and it is what explains what holds everything in the universe in its relative positions, and what holds galaxies in their, combined with the attractive force of gravity, which is a result of a positively charged monopole particle. Because there's this repulsive force, that is what keeps galaxies, stopping them spreading right out into space. Talking about it like this is quite difficult to get the whole concept over. That's why I've put it all in a little book. If you read this book, then you will get a much better idea of what I'm explaining, because I maintain that in the centre of the black hole, there is this negative force of repulsion pushing matter out. So the only thing that is contained in the centre of the black hole, I would propose, is a cloud, the cloud of negative charged particles that fills the whole of the universe. And the interactions between these two particles forms the whole basis of this hypothesis that explains exactly how an atom works, without any uncertainty principle or the like, which has been proposed before, or the electron is not allowed to fall to the nucleus because it's only allowed to be in certain bands. I explain the relationship between the positive and negative of the atom, how it can be justified completely with logic, fitting classical physics, and that then carries on right through to cosmology and how matter is formed, the types of matter, and obviously with what I'm proposing for black holes, how it is that there is zero gravity inside a black hole, and it's not an immense gravity that's pulling everything in. If the standard model was correct, then you wouldn't have an accretion disk, because if that gravity was that strong, everything that was in that ring round the black hole would be dragged into it. So in that situation, these what was the star before would reform, and we know that doesn't happen. So my hypothesis on black holes, which is a section of this book, explains how I believe galaxies form, and over years they gradually accrete more matter from space and they grow, and that fits in with what's being observed from the James Webb Space Telescope. So I know it's a bit mixed up, but if you think about it, it might be worth getting a copy of this book. Now, I know it's promoting that, but really all I want to do is get over the concept of what I propose in this hypothesis. because I'm not part of an institution, I can't publish scientific papers because I've tried and I get nowhere. So this is available on Amazon, Kindle bookstore. And if you type in that title, the two monopole particle universe, details will come up. Or if you put in my name, Tony Norman Marsh, the same thing will happen. You'll get details. And it's only a few quid, it's not a lot. Makes interesting reading, and it certainly gives you an alternative to think about, where at the moment nobody's coming up with an alternative. Everybody's saying, oh, the standard model is flawed and we've got to have new physics. But any time I've tried to put this forward to people, professors and everything else, have just turned a blind eye. They don't want to know. So I just come to the conclusion that they're quite happy carrying on teaching students the same old status quo because it's simple, it's easy, they don't have to think about it too much. But I would like this to be a challenge, and for students coming along now to look at something different, just to compare. If I'm wrong, fine. I've constantly offered a challenge and I offer it again. If there's any academics looking, or anybody else, because everybody's view is just as equally valuable. If you think that I'm wrong, then put a comment in and show me where I'm conclusively wrong. As I say, it's much easier if you could read the complete hypothesis, because every section is complementary to another section. And unless you've got the basic grasp of that, then it's difficult to take one individual bit and make proper sense of it. But I would ask, if possible, a couple of things. If you like this video or that, could you just click the like button and subscribe? It's completely free. And if you can watch it to the end, it might help more views coming up on YouTube. Anyway, I should probably be back with some more. So best of luck. In the meantime, ta-da.